Who are we? It's a question that echoes throughout human history, yet its answer seems ever elusive. We go through life with a sense of certainty about who we are. But what happens when that certainty is stripped away? Imagine waking up one morning, in a place you don't recognize, surrounded by faces you've never seen, and the most unsettling truth: you have no memory of your past. No recollection of your family, your achievements, your mistakes, or your identity. In that moment, are you still you? This is the enigma of personal identity, the idea that the person we believe ourselves to be might not be as stable or consistent as we think. Are we defined by our memories, by the continuity of our thoughts and experiences? Or is there something more to what makes us us? What truly makes us the same person over time? Throughout history, philosophers, scientists, and thinkers have grappled with this very question. Some believe it's our memories that bind us to who we were. Others argue that it's something more biological, something rooted deep within the brain. Inviting, with a sense of adventure. Today, we will dive into these theories, Locke's memory theory and the brain theory of identity, and begin unraveling the layers of this profound mystery. As we journey through this exploration, remember this: how you understand personal identity shapes everything. Your relationships, your choices, your perception of the world. But what if everything you thought you knew was wrong? In the late 17th century, philosopher John Locke posed a radical theory that would forever change how we think about personal identity. Locke's theory suggested that our personal identity, who we are, lies in the continuity of our memories, not in the substance of our body or soul. To Locke, you are the same person today as you were yesterday, not because your body is the same, but because you can remember being that person. Locke illustrated this with his famous thought experiment. Imagine a prince whose mind is transferred into the body of a cobbler. Despite the prince now inhabiting a completely different body, Locke argued that he remains the same person because he still retains the memories of his life as the prince. The body may have changed, but the continuity of memory makes the prince who he was, and he still has a sense of self. This theory shook the foundations of philosophy in Locke's time. The question at the heart of it was, what truly makes a person the same person over time? Locke's answer, memory, provided a seemingly straightforward solution. However, as we dive deeper into this theory, we encounter a number of complex challenges. First, what happens when memories fade, become distorted, or are lost? If a person loses their memory through a traumatic event or a medical condition like Alzheimer's, does that mean they stop being the same person? If a memory is forgotten, can that individual be held accountable for past actions, or even continue to view themselves as the same person? These are questions that Locke himself struggled with, leaving much of his theory open to debate. Psychologically, Locke's theory resonates with our everyday experiences. We often see ourselves as the same person because we can recall specific moments, relationships, and decisions from our past. These memories create a sense of continuity. Yet, the human mind is unreliable. Our memories are not as permanent or accurate as we might think. As memories fade or transform over time, does that mean we're no longer the same person we once were? Locke's theory opens the door to these profound questions, suggesting that identity may be far more fragile than we ever imagined. It invites us to reflect on how our memories shape the way we understand ourselves, but also forces us to confront the vulnerability of that very concept of identity. Are we truly the same person over time, or are we constantly becoming someone new?
While Locke's memory theory offers an intellectual framework for understanding personal identity, a more modern approach grounds our identity in the very structure and function of the brain itself. This theory posits that our sense of self is not defined by the continuity of our memories, but by the biological continuity of our brain. According to this view, it is the brain, the organ responsible for thoughts, consciousness, and identity, that makes us who we are. Neuroscientists argue that our brain's physical and functional continuity determines our personal identity. From the moment we are born to the moment we die, it is the brain that anchors our sense of self. It houses our memories, processes our emotions, and constructs our perception of reality. This theory goes beyond Locke's memory-based approach and connects personal identity to the brain's intricate structure and its ability to function consistently over time. To better understand this theory, consider the brain transplant thought experiment. Imagine that a person's brain is surgically removed from their body and transplanted into another fully functional body. According to the brain theory, the person's identity would be preserved because their brain remains intact. The memories, consciousness, and personality are carried over with the brain, making them the same person despite inhabiting an entirely new body. This scenario pushes the boundaries of what we perceive as personal identity, showing how fundamentally tied it is to the brain itself. This theory draws upon several biological principles, including neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new neural connections throughout life. Neuroplasticity suggests that our brain can adapt and change, yet the underlying brain structure remains consistent enough to preserve our identity. Additionally, theories of memory storage and consciousness further deepen our understanding, with the brain acting as the central hub for both. Despite its convincing argument, the brain theory faces challenges. One of the most striking examples is the phenomenon of split brain patients, individuals whose brain hemispheres are surgically separated. These patients often exhibit behaviors that suggest two distinct consciousnesses, raising questions about the unity of identity. If consciousness can exist in separate halves of the brain, can we truly say that identity is unified under the control of one brain? Somberly, furthermore, the theory struggles to account for severe brain damage, where a person's personality or memory is altered. In these cases, is the person still the same, or has their identity fundamentally shifted? The brain theory offers a more tangible, biological explanation of personal identity compared to Locke's memory-based theory. However, it raises its own set of complex questions. Does identity truly reside in the brain, or is it something more? The search for answers continues, urging us to reconsider what makes us who we are, beyond the limitations of any single theory.
As we delve deeper into the theories of personal identity, we encounter a paradox. How can we reconcile the starkly different explanations offered by Locke's memory theory and the brain theory? On one hand, Locke proposes that our identity is tethered to the continuity of our memories. On the other, the brain theory argues that it is the brain's biological continuity that defines us. These theories, though seemingly at odds, both attempt to answer the same question: what makes us the same person over time? At first glance, these theories appear irreconcilable. Memory theory suggests that we are defined by our memories, while the brain theory implies that our identity is rooted in the physical structure of the brain. But can both be true? Can personal identity simultaneously be shaped by our memories and by the continuity of our brain's functions? Or are they inherently contradictory?
Psychology and neuroscience offer us insights into this dilemma. Research shows that our memories are not infallible. They change, fade, and sometimes become distorted over time. Memory itself is a reconstructive process, meaning that what we recall is not always an accurate reflection of past events. This creates a tension with Locke's theory, which relies heavily on the idea that memory guarantees identity. How can we be sure that the person we remember being yesterday is the same as the person we are today, when our memories may not even be trustworthy? Meanwhile, the brain theory offers a more grounded, biological perspective. Neuroscience supports the idea that the brain, with its intricate networks of neurons and synapses, plays a central role in shaping who we are. Yet, as we've seen in cases of brain injury, split brain patients, and neuroplasticity, the brain's plasticity complicates the notion of a stable, unchanging self. If our brain can change, adapt, and reorganize, can we still claim that our identity remains constant? These contradictions point to a larger question that philosophy has grappled with for centuries. Can we ever truly understand personal identity? Both theories provide different lenses through which we can view ourselves, through the prism of memory, biology, or even consciousness. But each comes with its own set of uncertainties and challenges. As we continue to explore these theories, it's important to reflect on our own beliefs about identity. Is it shaped by the stories we tell ourselves, the bodies we inhabit, or something deeper? In the end, perhaps the most profound insight is that the search for personal identity may be less about finding one definitive answer and more about questioning the very nature of who we are.
The question of personal identity is no longer confined to the realms of philosophy and neuroscience. In the digital age, it has become an urgent, practical concern that touches every aspect of modern life. As our lives become increasingly intertwined with technology, the very concept of identity is being redefined. Consider the rise of digital identities, profiles we create on social media platforms, websites, and even virtual worlds. These digital personas often exist as separate entities from our real-world selves, leading to a profound question: is our online persona the same as our real-world self? For many, social media has become an extension of identity, a curated version of ourselves where we showcase only the aspects we choose to share. Yet this carefully constructed image can be vastly different from who we are offline, creating a dissonance between the digital self and the physical self. In some cases, people even present completely fictitious identities, adopting personas that bear no resemblance to their real lives. This disconnection between online and offline identity highlights a central challenge in today's world. Our identities are becoming fluid, shaped not only by our memories and biology, but also by the external pressures of society and technology. Social media, for example, plays a crucial role in how we define ourselves, but it also distorts our perception of identity. The constant comparison to others, the pressure to conform to societal expectations, and the pursuit of validation through likes and followers can lead to an unstable sense of self. For some, this can trigger psychological distress, including anxiety and depression, as the gap between who they really are and who they present online grows wider. Beyond social media, identity theft is another modern phenomenon that reflects the shifting nature of personal identity. In the digital world, your identity is no longer just about your physical body or memories, it is encoded in data, social security numbers, bank accounts, and email addresses. With the rise of cybercrime, personal identity has become a commodity that can be stolen, replicated, and exploited. This raises unsettling questions. If someone can steal your digital identity, are they you? Can your true identity be reduced to a series of numbers and algorithms? In addition to technological influences, Identity is also shaped by cultural and societal forces. We're born into communities with pre-existing expectations about who we should be, our gender, our career, our behavior, and even our beliefs. These external pressures have a profound effect on how we perceive ourselves. In many ways, our identity is shaped by the roles we are expected to play in society. But what happens when these roles no longer align with who we feel we truly are? As we grapple with the rapid pace of technological advancement, we must confront the reality that personal identity in the modern world is increasingly fragmented. We can no longer rely on traditional theories to explain what makes us who we are, because identity is no longer fixed. It's dynamic, evolving, and influenced by a complex web of internal and external factors: our memories, our biology, the digital world, and societal pressures. In this new reality, the question of identity becomes even more pressing. Who are we, really? Is our identity shaped by the past, by our memories, or by the constant flux of the digital world around us? As we continue to navigate this landscape, it's crucial to reflect on how these forces are shaping our sense of self. In an era where identity can be both fluid and fractured, understanding what makes us us has never been more critical.
As we draw this journey to a close, we are left with one profound and unsettling truth. The search for personal identity may never have a definitive answer. We've explored the theories that have tried to explain what makes us who we are. Locke's memory theory, which anchors our identity to the continuity of our recollections, and the brain theory, which ties our very essence to the physical structure and function of our brain. Both offer compelling insights, but neither provides a complete solution to the riddle of personal identity. Is it possible to truly understand who we are? Or is the search for self an ever-evolving journey, one that constantly shifts and eludes us, no matter how hard we try to grasp it? Perhaps identity is not a fixed destination, but an ongoing process, defined by the interplay of memory, biology, and the world around us. As you reflect on these theories, take a moment to look inward. What makes you, you? Is it your memories, your body? Or is it something deeper, something more elusive, more complex than any theory can fully capture? The nature of self, the mystery of who we are, is a question that has haunted philosophers, scientists, and thinkers for centuries. And in the end, it may be a question that each of us must answer for ourselves, through our own experiences, our own memories, and our own consciousness. The search for identity is far from over. It's not just an intellectual exercise. It's a deeply personal journey, one that invites you to explore the very core of your existence. In this world of constant change, the only certainty we have is the ongoing quest to understand ourselves. But maybe, in that search, we find something even more profound: the realization that perhaps the greatest mystery of all is simply the act of searching itself.